What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have my Tampa Bay Buccaneers season preview for y'all, so let's hop into it. And if you like this type of stuff, please consider subscribing. But anyway, last year the Buccaneers finished with an 8-9 record, but they won their division, the NFC South, with a sub 500 record, so they made the playoffs. But then that's where the fun stopped as they lost to the Cowboys 31-14 in what was ultimately Tom Brady's last game. So a disappointing end to what was otherwise one of the greatest careers of all time. But anyway, let's move over to some of their notable free agent signings. And first off, they brought in quarterback Baker Mayfield to take the reins and to be their new quarterback one. And as a Browns fan who watched Mayfield the first few years of his career, I can just say I'm sorry, Buccaneers fans, as it'll probably be a lot of ups and downs this season. So once again, I don't think it'll be a fun one for you guys. But anyway, they also brought in running back Chase Edmonds, kicker Chase McLaughlin, defensive back Ryan Neal, offensive tackle Matt Feeler, and quarterback John Wolford. So not too many free agent signings and or notable free agent signings, I should say, but still a decent chunk of guys that can contribute. They also re-signed guys like defensive back Jameel Dean, linebacker Levante David, linebacker Anthony Nelson, offensive guard Aaron Stinney, and defensive tackle William Golston. So it wasn't too many notable re-signs and extensions, but they did re-sign good guys like David Dean. So not too bad on their part right there. But their notable departures list is a completely different story. Is there is a ton of people on here, and a lot of them contributed a lot more than others, but at the same time there is a lot of big names on here. So getting started, they lost quarterback Tom Brady, he retired. They lost running back Giovanni Bernard, another one that retired. Offensive tackle Donovan Smith, defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roaches, wide receiver Rashard Perriman, defensive end Gennard Avery, cornerback Sean Murphy Bunting, running back Leonard Fournette, safety Keanu Neal, safety Mike Edwards, wide receiver Julio Jones, tight end Cameron Brate, and kicker Ryan Suckup. So they lost a ton of players all around the ball, and they disappointed last year. They had a sub 500 record, like I said before, and now they lose a ton of veteran guys. And I'm really not expecting much from the Buccaneers this season just because of they underperformed last year. They lost a ton of guys this year, and I just don't think it'll be a good time to be a Buccaneers fan. But hey, at least you won that Super Bowl a few years ago. They also brought in a new offensive coordinator in Dave Canales. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't know anything about him. So hopefully he works out in Tampa Bay. I don't want to see anybody fail, but I don't know anything about him to talk about him. So yeah, hopefully it works out for you guys. So moving on to their rookie class, with their first pick, they got defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey. Then they grabbed offensive tackle Cody Mock. Then they grabbed defensive end Yaya Diaby. Then they grabbed linebacker Servaka Dennis, tight end Payne Durham, cornerback Josh Hayes, wide receiver Trey Palmer, and with their last pick, they grabbed linebacker Jose Ramirez. And no, this isn't the legendary Cleveland fighter Jose Ramirez. This is linebacker Jose Ramirez. There is a difference between the two. But yeah, so they didn't have too many draft picks. And I don't really expect too much out of this draft class, maybe other than Cansey. But yeah, not too many picks here, but hopefully they can make an impact for this team. But anyway, with all that out of the way, let's move over to their schedule and my record prediction for the Buccaneers. All right, so in week one, they travel to Minnesota and take on the Vikings. And I think this is just a tough break, as Minnesota is probably one of the better teams in the NFC as a whole. And I don't see things starting out too great for the Buccaneers here as they lose in week one to the Vikings. Then in week two, they're at home against the Chicago Bears. And Baker Mayfield, after having probably what is not a very good game in week one, rebounds nicely with a win right here over the Bears in week two. But then in week three, they take on the Philadelphia Eagles as a primetime game, and the Buccaneers lose this game right here. Then in week four, they have their first of two matchups against the New Orleans Saints. And I do think the Saints are a much improved team. They brought in Derek Carr and everything. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Saints did sweep the Buccaneers. So I think the Buccaneers will probably lose right here in week four, as well as down here in week 17. And they have a super early bye right here in week 5. And at their bye week, they're sitting at a 1-3 record. So not great. And I don't think things are going to get much better for them for the rest of the season. But coming out of the bye, they have the Detroit Lions, who I am super high on this year. So I think they lose this game right here. And then they have their first of two matchups against the Falcons. And this one is at home. I don't know why it says at right there, because down here it says red is home. So this game is at home, and I don't know why it says at right there. So just ignore that. But I do think they will probably split the season series with the Falcons. I do have higher hopes for the Falcons than the Buccaneers, but the losing is not going to go on forever for this team. So with this game being at home, I do think they will beat the Falcons right here. but they will lose down here in week 14 against them. Then in week 8, they have the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills are one of the better teams in the AFC and in the NFL as a whole. So the Buccaneers lose this game right here. But then they take on the Houston Texans, and the Texans are led by a rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud, who just got named the starter right before the making of this video, and they can pull out a win right here against the Texans. And then they have the Tennessee Titans, who I'm not really sure about this year. I know they battled injuries last year and they finished with a 7-10 record, so it wasn't great for them, but I do think they will be a little bit better than the Buccaneers, so they lose this game right here. Then they have the San Francisco 49ers on the road, and once again, this is a tough environment to go into. You're playing one of the better teams in the league, and they lose this game right here. But then in week 12, they have another rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson and the Colts, and I'm going to give the Buccaneers the win here just because it is a rookie quarterback. So they get the win right here against the Colts. And then the following week, in week 13, they have yet another rookie quarterback in Bryce Young and the Panthers, their first of 2 matchups against the team. And I think they will split the season series with the Panthers. So they will win right here in week 13 at home, but they will lose down here in week 18 on the road. And then in week 15, they have the Green Bay Packers, who I'm not super high on this year, but I do think they will be a little bit better than the Buccaneers. So they lose right here to the Packers. And then in week 16, they have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I am super high on. I think they will be a threat in the AFC. So they lose right here to the Jaguars. So that brings the Buccaneers record to 5-12. And once again, I know this isn't a good record. This might be on the lower side of things for them, but they didn't do good last year. I think it's only going to get worse with all the people that they've lost. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about this down below. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you with another season preview. God bless.